Top 10 Joe Rogan Conspiracy Theories. Elon Musk and Joe Rogan talk about the world being a simulated reality.
In fact, you and I were talking about social media before this, about just not having Instagram on your phone and not dealing, and you feel better.
Yes, I think that one of the issues with social media, it's been pointed out by many people, is that I think maybe particularly Instagram, people look like they have a much better life than they really do.
Right.
So
by design.
Yeah, people are posting pictures of when they're really happy. They're modifying those pictures to be better looking. Even if they're not modifying the pictures, they're at least selecting the pictures for the best lighting, the best angle. So people basically seem they're way better looking than they basically really are.
Right.
And they're way happier seeming than they really are. So if you look at everyone on Instagram, you might think, man, there are all these happy, beautiful people, and I'm not that good looking, and I'm not happy, so I must suck, and that's gonna make people sad. So when in fact, those people you think are super happy, actually not that happy. Some of them are really depressed. They're very sad. Some of the happiest seeming people, actually some of the saddest people in reality. And nobody looks good all the time. It doesn't matter who you are. No.
It's not even something you should want. Why do you want to look great all the time?
Yeah, exactly. So I think things like that can make people quite sad.
Well,
just by comparison, because you just sort of people generally think of themselves relative to others. We are constantly rebaselining our expectations. And you can see this, say, if you watch some show like Naked and Afraid, or if you just go and try living in the woods by yourself for a while, and you'll learn that civilization is quite great. It has a lot of it. People want to come back to civilization pretty fast.
When you're thinking about Instagram, because what essentially Instagram is with a lot of people is you're giving them the opportunity to be their own PR agent, and they always go towards the glamorous. Mm-hmm. And when anybody does show, hashtag no filter, if they really do that, like, oh, you're so brave, look at you, no makeup, they look good anyway, you look great, what are you doing? Oh my God, you don't have makeup on, you still look hot as fuck, you know what you're doing. I know what you're doing too. They're letting you know, and then they're feeding off that comment section. Ooh, just a little sitting there like it's a fresh stream of love, like you're getting right up to the source as it comes out of the earth, and you're sucking that
lot of
sweet
emojis.
Love water.
Emojis.
Yeah.
A lot of emojis.
My concern is not so much what Instagram is that I didn't think that people had the need for this or the expectation for some sort of technology that allows them to constantly get love and adulation from strangers and comments and this ability to project this sort of distorted version of who you really are. But I worry about where it goes. Like, what's the next one? Like, where is it? Is it going to be augmented? Some sort of a weird augmented or virtual sort of Instagram type situation?
It will be, at some point, indistinguishable from reality.
Where we'll lose this. Like, you and I are just looking at each other through our eyes. I see you, you see me. I hope.
You think so?
I think you probably have regular eyes.
This could be some simulation.
It could. Do you entertain that?
Well, the argument for the simulation, I think, is quite strong. Because if you assume any improvement at all over time, any improvement, 1%, 0.1%, just extend the time frame, make it 1,000 years, 1,000,000 years. The universe is 13.8 billion years old. What would civilization, if you're very generous, civilization is maybe 7,000 or 8,000 years old, if you count it from the first writing. This is nothing. So if you assume any rate of improvement at all, then games will be indistinguishable from reality.
Tim Pool and Joe Rogan talk about UFOs.
Pentagon officially releases UFO. This is the tweet. It says, new Pentagon formally released 3 mysterious UFO videos captured by Navy pilots. The already leaked videos showed what DoD insists on calling unidentified aerial phenomenon, moving at incredible speeds and performing near impossible maneuvers. This is a weird subject because it's one of those subjects where people automatically dismiss it because it's been so touted by kooks. There's so many wacky fucks that have talked about UFOs that anybody talking about UFOs has to be out of their fucking mind. But then when you see these videos and you see them performing these impossible tasks, like these things are moving in a way that we've never seen anything move before, flipping upside down and sideways, moving at insane rates of speed. Like, they don't know what these are.
Yeah.
Aerial phenomena.
What's interesting, though, is I was reading one of these stories, and they passively mentioned that the sighting was near a U.S. naval technology station of some sort, like a top secret development. And I'm like,
that could be one of two things: either it's developed by the people that are at that base, or they're monitoring the people that are at that base. These aircraft, we call them aircraft, are displaying characteristics that are not currently within the U.S. inventory nor any foreign inventory that we are aware of. Maybe they see this shit that's going down with China and all the ships being moved and like, listen, you fuckheads.
The aliens?
Yeah. Maybe they're like, listen, you fucking morons, you territorial apes.
I'd like to think that, but...
You don't think so?
Manhattan Project, man. I mean, the U.S. has probably got some crazy motherfucking weapons.
Could be, but the Manhattan Project was also, coincidentally, right after they started detonating bombs when the aliens started showing up.
That's what they think, right?
Yeah, well, that was when the bulk of U.S. sightings started jumping. And worldwide, I believe, too.
Maybe we've slowly been getting more and more information about this. I've been actually reading a lot of these stories over the past several months. More admissions from government, more release of documents, and more sightings. So there's been a big, I don't want to call it, well, a lot of people murmuring that April was going to be the month when we finally learn the truth. April's almost up.
It's almost up.
It's almost up.
We got like a few days.
Nah, man.
The 27th?
You know what I used...
more days is left?
Do you know...
30?
Do you know about what happened? Do you know about the O'Hare Airport sighting?
Which one's that?
So this was, I think, in like 2006. At Chicago's International O'Hare, a UFO came down and hovered above, I can't remember which terminal it was. It hovered for a few minutes, I think, and then shot straight, punched a hole in the clouds. Everybody saw it happen. Now, I had just quit working at O'Hare around this time when the sighting happened, so I had friends who were still there. I had a friend tell me that when this UFO came down, people on Mannheim Road, which is the road on the side of O'Hare, got out of their cars, like just stopped the light, got up, and were looking and staring at it. And that the people who were working, where we worked for American Eagle Airlines, walked out of the rooms and were just staring at it float and then shoot up and punch a hole in the clouds. And you know what they said? Weather phenomenon. So there's a photo of it. A pilot took a photo of it. This is back when like very early phone cameras, so it's a very grainy, awful picture.
There it is right there.
That's not it. No, that's super fake. I think, no, these are all people trying to fake it. It's really hard to find. That one is not, that one might be it, but I don't think so. It barely looks like anything.
Chicago O'Hare UFO sighting 2006. Is that it right there?
I do not believe those are it, no. So
click on that article. See what it says, Jamie.
That's just some blog.
That one might be on the left, but so many people try exploiting this stuff for clicks and for views, and they make these fake photos. And
it was link's not working.
I've clicked on it a few times.
It was a very faint photo from the cockpit. It might be that one right there in the middle. On the left side.
Far left.
It might be that one. No, that's not it. That's not it. Well, there was a really crappy photo of it. And
that might be it.
That might be. It was out of the cockpit of a window. A pilot took a photo. And, I wonder, where have all the sightings gone since phones became ubiquitous? I mean, there's a simple, I guess, excuse. The aliens, they're sentient. They know we have phones. They're like, okay, stop, decloaking or whatever. But I wonder if, why is it there were so many UFOs and then around the time cell phone cameras come out, they're gone?
Well, I think most people are full of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think most people like to pretend they see things that don't really see things. But I don't think that excludes the possibility. It's not like these things are mutually exclusive. Like people are full of shit, therefore aliens don't exist. I think aliens could be real and people are full of shit. And I think that it's very rare that they visit us. But if they do, well, how often do scientists go to the Congo to study chimps? I mean, how many people do they send to the bottom of the ocean to look for new life forms? How rare is it?
Let me trip you out
on
that idea. We put decoys up for animals. Animals can't tell the difference. What if you've actually met a decoy person and you couldn't tell the difference?
Maybe it's you, bro.
Maybe it's me.
Mike Baker and Joe Rogan talk about the threat of China.
Talking about China. He's talking about China. We were talking about China amassing naval power.
Oh.
China's taking over tech companies and how huge they're getting and how much influence they have over their people as opposed to the way we do it.
Well, he's not wrong.
No.
He's not, I can't spot the lie in what you just said, but I mean, look, there's so much we can talk about, but if you think about it, just in the past handful of months, there was this SolarWinds hack, right, by the Russians. So the Russians go in, they hack into a company called SolarWinds that is an IT management software company that happens to be fairly deep into government organizations, agencies, Treasury, and a variety of others throughout the U.S. government. And they're also into parts of the intel community, Defense Department, and a lot of commercial sectors. So anyway, the Russians figure this out. Now, around about December or January, Microsoft, identified this as a problem. And I think it was the head of Microsoft said, this looks like the most sophisticated attack we've ever seen. So this is December, January timeframe. And they're still trying to figure out the depth of this hack by Russians. At the same time, and going back months and months and months and months before, the Chinese had been engaged in a more sophisticated attack that, while everyone is focused on what's going on and so fully aware that we got problems, right, from nation states out there who don't like us, everybody's talking about SolarWinds, and now it's, they've just now released information about the Chinese attack against Microsoft Exchange servers, running the Exchange email systems. And this thing is enormous. And so the Chinese, we've been so focused for 4 years on the Russians, and they're out there to cause us all sorts of problems. So we should be focused on them. But it's China that's the biggest problem. And so this guy is absolutely right. Jamie's right.
It was terrifying.
Yeah.
Listen to what he was talking about, the way he was explaining how they have this plan. I think he said 2049 to be the global superpower of the world and essentially take the place of what America used to be.
Yeah,
they do it their way.
And they do it their way, which means we're going to bypass all the costs and the heavy lift of research and development over the years, and we're just going to steal everything. Yeah. And they've been doing it for decades. So people think, oh, China, it's a problem. We've talked about this before. This idea that perhaps this is just something relatively new, or it's popped up during the previous administration of Trump. And honest to God's truth is, it's been going on for decades. And they decided that that's how they're going to get to the top of the food chain, is by stealing shit, because it's a lot easier to hoover up everything and then reverse engineer it. And the technology has made it even easier, right? It used to be old school. They'd go out and recruit somebody. They'd find some Chinese American working for a company here in the States. They'd appeal to sort of, you got to help the motherland, and they would. And that was the old school way of doing it. But, cyber theft it's incredible what they're able to do. And this latest attack, while they're still trying to sort out the mess, right?
So when they do this, if they get into this email server, are they targeting anything specific? Is there specific companies? Are they just like throwing a net out there and seeing what they catch?
Yes, is the answer to both of those. It looks like what happened here was that their initial point of attack, or the initial focus, was intelligence, right? So then it branched out, and it branched out very, very quickly, right, to hit everything: small companies, medium-sized companies. And that's kind of the MO for the Chinese. The Chinese regime, right, their intel operations, they've got this long vision. And they've also got the resources, and they've got the desire to hoover up everything and then sort it out later. We take, as a country, we take a very sort of targeted approach, right? We say, okay, this is a piece of information that's a priority tasking for the U.S., for our national security. We're going to go out, we're going to figure out who has access to it. We're going to develop a very sort of surgical strike to figure out how do we get to somebody who's got this piece of information. That's typically how we or some of our allies would operate. The Russians, the Chinese have always had a different approach. I mean, the Russians is less elegant. The Russians are just throw shit at the wall and see what sticks, right? But the Chinese, they've got this long view, and they've also got this ability. And so in this particular attack that they're still trying to assess, that was perpetrated by, Chinese state-sponsored hackers based in China. They're just going to take everything, and then they'll sift through it. They'll figure out what they got. A lot of it's going to be just, chafe, not of interest, but they're going to find a lot of gold in there too.
Jeremy Corbell and David Fravor talk to Joe Rogan about aliens being in famous paintings.
Do you know of, there's a very famous painting that shows what appears to be men in crafts flying through the sky in the background of an ancient painting. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do. I actually have a page. One of the first pages I ever put on my website is like a bunch of these, because throughout history, there are these indications of ships, of craft.
But
like,
you know the one I'm talking
yes.
about? It's like, and
yes.
that's the shape of it. It's also like a plate turned on its side, and then there's a person inside
yes.
of it.
Yeah, man. It's
and
exciting.
It's flying through in that same. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Like, look
it's
how
incredible.
it's flying.
But the thing is that everybody can say art. The one above that's pretty cool because that was a hidden thing. I've studied that one where it says Discovery 15th century. Above her left shoulder, there is an object, and if you really zoom in, look at the dude staring up at it. As a painter, my wife is a painter. Everything is intentional.
Which guy? Where's the guy? The guy on the
right over there. It's
right.
pretty cool.
Looking up.
So I think that's 15th century. It said. So the problem with this, Joe, is
go to the original one, the one that we just looked at, Jamie. The one right before that. Yeah, see, get a big picture of that.
Yeah.
That is so strange. Like here
man.
you got Christ being crucified, and then above him, UFOs. Like, is that supposed to be aliens, or is that supposed to be angels? Like, what is that supposed to be in these things that they have? It's real similar to what we're talking about here.
That's the argument of Miracle of Fatima, let's say. I mean, again, this is so speculative. We have a witness here of Pilate, but when you see something like the Miracle of Fatima, if you look at that...
What is the Miracle of Fatima?
God, that's that one that was, considered a real miracle by the church, and the 3 kids were getting messages, I'll get this all wrong, but for like months that they're going to be visited and to bring people, and bigger groups gathered to where there was over 100,000 people.
What year is this?
1917. So, dozens of thousands, if not hundreds, but dozens for sure, see an event. A mass sighting of something that happened. We're talking people that were religious, people that weren't religious, doctors at the time.
That's not a real image, is it, Jamie?
That one was doctored a little bit, so you could see they're all looking at something.
But that's not real.
Yeah,
but that's the crowd, right? The crowd is real. Is that right?
Yeah.
So here's the thing. People come out, something happened that was so intense. Some people thought it was religious, that it was a visitation, but other people saw it as technological, like something descended. Look into it. I'm just saying, art, pictures, like paintings we're talking about, man, you can interpret them all day. I can't hold on to that. I can hold on to an eyewitness with other eyewitnesses, with radar systems, and with video. We're in a different era now. We don't have to paint it, man. We get to see it. It's fascinating, man.
It is fascinating, but it's way more fascinating when someone like you talks about it versus some fucking random kook. That's what makes me incredibly interested, is just your credibility and the fact that this is not, you don't have a history of seeing wacky shit that other people don't see.
No, just this once.
But it's on video, and that there's other ones as well. It's really strange. And I've seen people try to explain it away, and what I don't like about when they explain it away or attempt to explain it away is that they're trying really hard. They're not going, who knows what this fucking thing is? They're not looking at it like cleanly. They're looking at it like a quote-unquote skeptic. I don't like the idea of being a skeptic. Not that I don't think you should be skeptical of certain things. I certainly think you should be, but there's a lot of people that brand themselves as skeptics. And I think it's a lazy way to look at things. I really do. Because I think you're just looking for the holes in things without looking at it objectively. If you wanted to be a scientist, if you wanted to be someone who is a fan of science, then you have to look at it as a thing. Like, look at this information and let's study this without any bias, any preconceived notions. I don't think they're doing that. They're looking at it and they're trying to find a way where they can justify that it's fake. And they're just doing all sorts of mental gymnastics to try to make it fake. That video that you show where that thing slips off to the left and takes off at incredible rates of speed, that alone should freak people the fuck out.
Joe Rogan talks about the space is fake conspiracy.
You could fuck off. I'm not getting in that thing. It would take a few years before I'm willing to climb into that sucker. But
so the other problem with conspiracies, just to get back to that for a moment, is the problem of anomalies. What do you do with anomalies? This is true in all science. No theory explains every single thing that's out there that we want to study. There's always going to be some like quirky thing that the main theory here that explains all these things here, it doesn't account for that. Mm-hmm. Okay, what do we do with that? Well, my joke is you assign it to a grad student. They let them figure it out. But what outsiders mistake is that, well, my theory explains this little anomaly, so therefore it should replace this theory. And so people like Neil and Sean Carroll, Lawrence Krauss, Michio Kaku has like 2 web pages. One, he has a link on his web page. If you have an alternative theory of physics, go to this page. So they go there, and it has, your theory has to explain all of these things over here that our theory currently explains, and your whatever your said anomaly is. And of course they can't. So it's not that scientists are dogmatically closed-minded to the anomalies. It's that we can't explain everything, and you don't have to do anything with that. Just leave it there. Maybe eventually they'll pile up, and there'll be a new theory, like with Einstein's relativity. Okay, there's enough anomalies here, like the orbit of Mercury and a few other things, and so we have to modify Newtonian physics a little bit. Okay, that happens. But for the most part, like, and so conspiracies are filled with these things. Like the moment something big happens, you go back and, okay, but there's this weird thing here. How do you explain that? I don't know. We don't have to explain everything.
Do you know that there's a growing movement that think that the space is fake?
Space is fake. No, this is different than the flat earthers.
Google hashtag space is fake. Oh, no. Hashtag space is fake is people that are so fucking stupid, the flat earthers kicked them out.
Oh my God.
For real. Flat earthers kicked out the space is fake people. Space is fake is,
oh my God,
they're the most skeptical.
So what would be the upper atmosphere? Would be the edge of the universe?
It's all bullshit. It's all fake.
That's the end.
And it's tied in some weird way to religion, which is really interesting. Because even the flat earth people, there's a tremendous amount of them that are extremely religious. And they talk about the firmament and the Bible,
right.
And the Bible, and that this is what's really going on, is that they're trying to keep us from the knowledge that God has created this place as a very special place.
Right.
And so by pretending that it's round, they somehow or another are controlling us. They're thinking that we're not exceptional and we're not lucky. Space is fake.
They're using a video from that Ryan Gosling's movie he just made about Neil Armstrong, the first man on the moon.
Yeah.
Just be like, this is look, here's proof. This is how they fake everything.
This is fake.
It's like they're making a movie.
Because
they're literally making
the way they made the movie that's evidence that it's fake.
Because he's wearing it. I don't know if maybe this person doesn't recognize that as being Ryan Gosling right there. He's got a NASA suit on.
Maybe it's just a troll account. This is how NASA
be
fakes everything. This is the video I was talking about, guys. Now you know it's all a big act. Hashtag
you should,
space is fake. Click on space is fake, though.
This is what I'm on. I'm on the whole
Yeah, but I mean,
thread
click on it because there's a bunch of other ones.
I'm on that thread.
There's a tremendous amount of people that literally believe that space is not real.
Google a video of how Buzz Aldrin and how he deals with the no moonies, that we never went to the moon. There's a video of Buzz Aldrin punching a guy.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
That guy, I had dinner with that guy.
You did?
The guy he punched, yeah. I was a firm believer that we never went to the moon.
You were?
Yeah, this is what happened. I watched that Fox documentary, The Moon Conspiracy Theory, Did We Go? And I was like, holy shit. Because it was on television. And this was 96, 97. I remember I went to work and I told everybody, you got to see this documentary. It's crazy. We never went to the moon. And I watched that one, and I watched this guy's what is his name?
Bart Seibel.
Bart Sibrel.
Siebel. Oh,
yeah.
So I had dinner with him. He absolutely believes that we never went to the moon. 100% believes it. I don't know if he still believes it. I think he's like a cab driver or something now. He was involved in the news or local television or something like that back where he's from. Then he released a documentary called A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon. And in his documentary, one of the things he did have is some really interesting footage of the lunar module where it looks like they're faking a shot of them being really far out. But then when they remove the covers from all the windows that were inside the lunar, not the lunar module, what is the one that the orbiter? It really looks like they're in low Earth orbit. And this is like the main thing pointing to that, like they couldn't get out of low Earth orbit.
Joe Rogan and Everlast talk about parallel universe theories.
If they came up with an arm,
It would
that
sound
works way better
terrible
than your
though,
arm,
like metal
maybe
on metal.
not.
Unless if you had the skin like simulation, I could play guitar with that maybe.
Dude, I'm talking about
Probably do some wild shit.
I'm talking about self-healing, bulletproof, spider silk hybrid skin, like that the government's working on. They're working on that right now. They're working on some sort of.
I don't doubt it, man. I
read an
you,
article.
You want to hear a wild one? All right, I went on, one night fucking smoking. I went on a little YouTube wormhole situation, and somehow, I don't even know if it's a YouTube video or somewhere else, but I wound up on this video that was like, world's smartest kid thinks that CERN blew the world up in 2008. All right. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I go on this video, right? And I'm watching this video, dude. And it's this young kid. He's like 12, and the motherfucker's talking. You got to invest like 20 minutes into this kid talking about things that are super smart. And it's kind of like to show you he's super smart. You know what I mean? This kid. And his dad's doing the recording, I believe, or a relative, somebody very close to him. And he goes into this whole theory of how he thinks when they collided the electrons, I believe, in the super collider, CERN, that they caused some crazy chain reaction that blew up the universe. But they also they created an atom that weighed too much. And the first 20 minutes is also explaining infinite parallel universes. So what the kid winds up with is this theory of like, one atom weighing too much and is that being just enough to shift our universe into a parallel universe. Yeah, this is it right here, dude. So this kid had me fucked up because after I watched this, everything I saw for months was talking about, like, it would be a news guy on the news, like, I don't know what universe I'm in anymore, or is Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse. Like everything I saw for like 4 or 5 months after watching this video was like multiverse shit, like shit about multiverses, and it's got me fucked up, Joe.
I hear you. I'm fucked up too now.
Fucked up, man.
Listen, read
this
that paragraph. Look at what it says there. He claims that CERN destroyed the universe during recent experiments, which has resulted in us living in a nearby parallel universe instead.
You're welcome, Eddie.
There's a lot of people online that think this is an explanation for all the Mandela effect things that people keep finding
he goes
online.
into stuff about the Mandela effect, how there's like apparently a bunch of people who think Mandela died in prison,
right?
And like there's as far as I know, he was released, became president of South America. That's the universe I'm from, just personally. But it's crazy, dude. Because it's not just this video. It's like you watch it, and that YouTube algorithm starts sending you down a whole bunch of other, you start hearing and it's like, and then again, everything that came out, there was all these shows I would see or movies or news things about the multiverse all of a sudden was everywhere around me. It was fucking nutty, dude. So I'm fucked up about that shit right now.
Well, if there was something they could do, that might open up a door to a parallel universe, you don't think they would do it?
Stranger Things, you mean?
Yeah.
Say that's
this
the goal.
Is Stranger Things. I mean, things are strange, right? It is Stranger Things.
Bizarro world. You
know what's the weirdest one? Is the people that dismiss climate change. That is the weirdest one to me. So I'm like, I'm trying to figure out what's the benefit of dismissing climate change, other than if you work for like the oil industry or something.
Well, Iceland just lost a glacier.
Yeah.
Like they just posted a whole thing of 10 or 80, like something in the 80s, a glacier picture of it, and just now, and it's gone.
But I'm not even saying like blaming anybody for it. I'm saying dismissing it as an issue. I'm like, let's pretend that people have nothing to do with it. I wish people had nothing to do with it. Because then we can go, holy fuck, it's getting hot. Like, how hot is it going to get? Like, we could just figure it out. Like, if it was just
record at this point, it's 2 degrees. The oceans are hotter than they've been in
do you know how people do that? Where they try to say, well, this is a natural cycle. This is something that some people still say, right? Okay, even if it was just a natural cycle, I wish humans weren't in the equation at all, so there was no argument. I wish it would just be like, hey guys, it's getting really hot. What the fuck do we do? As if we had no control over it whatsoever. Not saying that we shouldn't take steps to fix it, we definitely should. But I'm saying that if it was impossible for people to have created it and it was happening around us, maybe we would be forced to do something. Maybe we'd be forced to like go to higher ground, get the fuck out of the really hot spots, you know, make your way towards Canada. Like, I mean, maybe that would what we would do if there was no other way. But we know that at least part of what the problem is people. At least part of what the problem. But so many people they want to start arguments about that and fight that. And to me, it's so strange. It's like, what's the benefit of arguing against that it's happening?
Joe Rogan talks about the JFK single bullet theory.
I think you believe the official story of the JFK assassination, do you?
More or less, yes.
More or less.
Yeah.
My belief, and this changes over time, I think that Lee Harvey Oswald was in on it. I think he was a part of it, but I think there were multiple people that were in on it. That's what I believe.
Do you think there are multiple shooters?
Yes. And one of the reasons why I believe that is because of the formation of the single bullet theory. And the single bullet theory was formed because the fact that they had to account for one bullet that hit the underpass, ricocheted off, and put some man in the hospital. And that before that, they did not have an explanation for why all of these bullet holes, all these wounds were in all these different people's bodies. The other reason why I'm inclined to believe there's a conspiracy was the fact that they found that bullet on Connolly's gurney when they brought him into the hospital. It's too convenient, and the bullet itself is fairly pristine. Now, knowing as much as I know about bullets from personal experience of hunting, you can't hit anything with a bullet. I pulled a lot of bullets out of animals. When you shoot an animal and you hit bone, those bullets, they distort brutally. I mean, they don't look like that after they go through 2 people and hit all sorts of bone. That's the bullet that came out of Connolly's body, or Connolly's gurney, excuse me. And that's the bullet that they're attributing to this single bullet theory. If you look at the path of the bullet that goes through Connolly, or goes through Kennedy and then goes through Connolly, that to me is not unbelievable. It's not unbelievable.
That one is. But you got to look at the other one.
But even that one. But no. See what I'm saying? Even that one is not unbelievable. It is believable to me because I know that bullets do strange things when they hit things.
Right, but you got to combine that with the fact that the bullet came out fairly pristine, which means it didn't actually go through a kind of a bouncy path like that.
Right.
It went through a straight path. This diagram is from
a conspiracy theorist book.
Essentially.
Yes. But the thing
there are
is,
other diagrams that will show the actual path with him. Like, they've got their butts there on the same level, and you know that Kennedy was actually sitting above Connolly.
He was elevated. Yes. So see if we can find one that has the actual seating arrangement, or more accurate seating. Well, the one right there with the red line in the right-hand side, the one on the right-hand side, that's a more accurate.
From above, yeah.
Yeah, from above.
Yeah.
There's also the fact that there was particles. There was more metallic particles from the bullets, more fragments from the bullet in Connolly's body than were missing from the bullet. I do not believe that was the bullet, and I think that is a very reasonable assumption.
Well, you know what you should do? You should get one of those guns, get the same bullets, get some ballistic dummies with some bones inside, and start shooting.
They've already done that.
Yeah,
Penn and Teller did that.
Yeah, but some people have done it, and they have found pretty close to what actually happened.
No, they didn't.
Within the round.
No. Every bullet that hit bone got distorted. That's just what happens. When you shoot those bullets into water, or you shoot those bullets into like fluff or something like that doesn't have a lot of impact to slow the bullet down, then you get a bullet that looks like that. If you shoot a bullet into bone, they distort wildly.
But the bone was the last thing that it hit.
But it doesn't matter. It's still hitting bone.
But it stopped at that point.
Yeah, but I mean, didn't it hit bone in Kennedy's body as well?
Went through his neck, didn't it? So.
The odds of it hitting only soft tissue and it's going to go through his neck, and it came out here. That didn't clip one of his vertebrae or something like that. I don't think that's real.
Yeah.
I think also there's a difference between, and this is fact, from David Lifton's book, Best Evidence, which was a book by an accountant who went over the Warren Commission report and found all these factual inaccuracies and all these contradictions. He found that there was a difference in the autopsy report at Bethesda, Maryland, the Bethesda Naval Hospital, versus what they had reported on the scene in Dallas. The first doctors that got a hold of Kennedy's body in Dallas before they flew him to Bethesda said that the hole in his neck was an entry wound. When they got to Maryland, they changed that to a tracheotomy hole. They changed the impact, and they said that it was that this was not an impact from a bullet, that it was from something else.
Yeah, someone said they enlarged the hole.
Annie Jacobson tells Joe Rogan about the truth of Operation Paperclip.
I mean, I wrote a book about Operation Paperclip, and my God, talk about a rabbit's hole.
That's a rabbit hole.
It's a rabbit hole.
Let's explain to people that don't know what we're talking about. Operation Paperclip was when, after World War II, the United States gathered up a ton of scientists from Nazi Germany, brought them over to America, and even Wernher von Braun. They had Wernher von Braun run NASA. He was a Nazi, like 100% Nazi.
Good friends with Hitler type Nazi.
Yes, he ran a Berlin rocket factory where they hung the 5 slowest Jews. They would hang them out front so everybody would know, like, this is what happens when you work slow. We'll hang you. I mean, the Simon Wiesenthal Center said that if Wernher von Braun was alive today, they would prosecute him for crimes against humanity.
Yes, they would.
And that was the head of NASA. That was the head of NASA. That was the guy who got us to the moon. That was the big cheese guy. Yeah. So we were willing to put a lot of really dark things aside in order to gather up the best scientists so that the Soviet Union couldn't get them all. And they got a few of them as well. But we got how many? More than 1,000, right?
Allegedly 1,400, but I would not be surprised if, the story changes and there were more, right?
Yeah.
But that goes back to our discussion earlier about being in pole position. I mean, that's why we grabbed those Nazis. We were like, if we don't get them, the Russians will.
I get it. And, and I'm sure the Nazis could say, I didn't want to do it. They made me. I'm a nice person. I love Jews.
Well, that was part of the mythology. It was like, we got the good Germans. Well, no, we didn't. Right. We got the top Germans, and who do you think the top Germans were?
Yeah.
They were coveted by Hitler, Himmler, Göring,
Yeah.
I mean, these guys were right. I mean, there were guys that we grabbed out of the docks at Nuremberg literally to come be part of our program,
Well, if you're smart, you're an asset, right? I mean, that's what Genghis Khan used to do. He'd take warlords from the other side and capture them and go, listen, just come over here, bro. Come on. Work for me. I'm the man.
I mean, ideology aside, I'm super smart and I want that to be known. That's kind of that's the competitor, right? I mean, you cannot be the best rocket designer in the world and not want those talents, demonstrated. That's Wernher von Braun's story. That's the story of all of them. And that was so shocking writing that book, because it's like, wow, huge amounts of talent, but how far will the competitor go to see their baby come to fruition? What are they willing to put aside?
Yeah. Did you pay any attention to the other places where Nazis went when they escaped Germany, like Argentina in particular? Have you ever seen any of that stuff? Where they have entire German towns down in Argentina?
God, right?
They do Oktoberfest down there. They wear lederhosen. They drink out of steins. It's crazy. They speak German. And you're like, what the fuck is this? Like, my friend Tim Kennedy went down there, and he said he was literally talking to people, interviewing people, and they had photos of SS soldiers on their wall, and they would talk about how grandfather was a hero, and they're like, like, you're the descendants of escaped Nazis, and they put together a town down there.
I mean, the way the Nazis were able to flee is I can't read enough of that. I mean, that's what Jamie and I were talking about. It's like,
dark.
Oh my God, and it's endless. I mean, there's so, the ones that there was a famous guy that we got. He was the Surgeon General of the Third Reich. I mean, think about that, okay? Dr. Walter Schreiber. I mean, he was such a bad dude. He was in charge of the vaccine program. I mean, you just put those words together and your mind goes really dark, right? But we wanted him because he was an expert in vaccines. And we brought him to the United States. He was the only Nazi I found of the ones, the paperclip scientists who came here, that was actually outed, right? He was outed as a Nazi, and that's because one of the investigators at the Nuremberg trials recognized him.
Oh, Jesus.
And he's the only one we got out of here. And guess where he went? Argentina. And lived out the rest of his life there.
Joe Rogan on the stuff they're finding in the Amazon.
Hey, wait, this reminds me of when you talk about that island, that private island, you know, Sentinel
North
Island?
Sentinel
North Sentinel Island?
Yeah.
Planes still fly over that or no? Are they not allowed to fly over that? Is it restricted airspace?
I don't think it's restricted. No. But you can't land there and you can't circle.
Right.
You can't visit.
India owns it, right? Doesn't India control it?
I believe so.
Yeah, and it's like 10-mile radius.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a thing online that said a boat crashed there, and you could still see on Google Images the remnants of the boat.
Yeah, they came for the people in the boat too, and the helicopters got them off the boat right as the people were like pulling up in
so they lived.
rafts and shit. Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, they lived, but the villagers were coming for them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you imagine stumbling across a village?
They've been fucked with sometime in the past. You know, that Commander Maurice Vidal Portman, that guy.
Yeah.
Shout out to Respectable Law on Twitter. He has a giant thread about it. It may be pinned on the top of his Twitter page, but explaining like one of the reasons why those people are so hostile.
Right.
And it has to do with this British explorer who was really kinky. And
he went there to fuck.
Yeah, who knows
he
what
wanted
he
fuck
did.
Island.
Who knows what he did? But people got sick because of him. You know, I had this guy Graham Hancock on, and he was talking to me about all the different shit that they're finding in the Amazon and in South America, and that there used to be 20 million people that lived in the Amazon, and they died off because of sickness. They were visited mostly, like apparently Europeans, when they came in like the 1500s, they would tell these incredible stories about these huge civilizations in the Amazon. But then when explorers came back 200 years later, there was nothing there. And they were like, this is crazy. They lied. They must have lied. But it turns out they didn't lie. What happened was smallpox ran through the fucking jungle and killed everybody.
We did it.
And then the jungle just overtook these cities. And now they're finding these cities with something called LiDAR. They use these planes and they circle over this area, or helicopters, whatever the fuck they do. And they shoot this shit down, this LiDAR. It's like laser radar, and it gives you a detailed image of what's below the surface and what's there.
Shit.
And it shows them all these crazy structures, all these like roadways and irrigation systems and circles inside of a square. Like, it was villages and cities, and millions of people probably lived there.
Fuck.
And look at it. That's all the stuff they're finding now.
What?
Yeah. And all of it was swallowed up by the jungle. They think within like 100 years, it just vanished in the jungle.
Wow.
Because it's so lush and tropical down there. Dude, it was one of the most amazing podcasts I've ever done. Listening to that guy tell this story.
Right after this one, though.
No, you are the best. You're the best. But he's
this is kind of this is like the findings of Atlantis, right? Like when they started finding more and more land underground.
Have you seen this? They found traces of 5 drugs, including dimethyltryptamine, on 1,000-year-old South American ritual kit.
DMT, baby.
So that's like proof positive evidence that at least 1,000 years ago they were using ayahuasca.
Wow.
This was the drug pouch that was made from fox snouts. That sounds so crazy.
Fox nose.
It literally when you see it, it looks like a nose. Of a fox.
They used everything.
And the fur is still
crazy.
intact. It looks really nice.
The nose. I wonder why they do that with a fox. It's probably like some cleverness. Do you know that that's what a shaman, that's like literally what a shaman is supposed to, that's what the definition is supposed to be in certain cultures?
Huh.
Certain cultures, it's a clever fellow. That's who the shaman is.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense. They are just clever fellows.
But I mean, imagine that. Like, he takes a fox, that clever little fucker. I'm going to take his face.
I want his fucking
hide my
face.
drugs in his face. Only a person would think to do something so creepy.
Hide my drugs in this
or
thing's
an
nose.
insect.
Chipmunk cheeks.
Yeah, right? That would be the good move.
Pouch.
Yeah, a little pouch.
Those are good pouches.
That hangs from your belt. It's just chipmunk cheeks with all your coins in it.
Joe Rogan on the moon landing conspiracy.
Evidence of what hit the Pentagon.
Well, there's a video of something. I know there was one hidden camera thing or security camera video that was released. But what they did have is all sorts of pieces of aircraft all over the fucking lawn.
Yeah.
I mean, in a blown up building and a plane that's missing and all the people dead. Like, I'm gonna guess it was a plane.
Yeah.
You know, I think people look for conspiracies in everything because it's exciting.
Well,
There's something
I mean,
stimulating about it.
There is, but then obviously, I know that you don't believe that everything we're told is the truth right away, right? I mean, if we go to something like Gulf of Tonkin incident, right? I mean, that's been proven to be false, or the fact like the banana republics, right, where Dole asked us to go take out one of their dictators because they were going to nationalize all the banana plants in that country.
Yeah.
I mean, those things have been now proven to be totally factual, that the United States government went and did that stuff. So the fact that, and you know, in 1960s or 70s, those things were reported the opposite, right? So we can't obviously take everything that we've been reported as truth.
Well, there's definitely been conspiracies that have been put together and executed. And these conspiracies have greatly affected the American people. The Gulf of Tonkin's a perfect example. Another one that they were planning on was Operation Northwoods.
Yes.
Operation Northwoods was one that they were planning on blowing up a drone jetliner, blaming it on the Cubans. They were going to arm Cuban friendlies and have them attack Guantanamo Bay. They were going to sacrifice American troops and American lives. And they were going to do this in order to get people to be excited about a war with Cuba.
Yeah.
This is a real thing that was signed by the Joint Chiefs of Staff. It was released by the Freedom of Information Act, and it was vetoed by Kennedy. So we know that there were people, at least in 1962, that were planning on shit like this.
Yeah.
So that's a real thing. And the idea that just went away and no one does that anymore.
It's crazy.
I don't believe that. I think there's most certainly evil people in all fucking sectors of life.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's good to have an open mind, but there's also a lot of fucking conspiracy loons that look for...
And they get consumed with it. That's the issue. Is they get consumed with nothing that I've been told is true.
Yeah.
Which is obviously, like I said, the one far end of the spectrum. And anyone who's that end is crazy also.
Yeah, there's people out there that think the satellites are fake. And they think that
the moon landing one
were not real.
And then the Earth is flat is the ones where I just shake my head like...
The moon landing one's my favorite.
Really?
I got balls deep in that for years. I was completely
So you
convinced.
think they did not go to the moon?
No, I don't think that anymore.
Okay.
But you know what I think now? I think I don't know.
Okay.
But I do think that it is one of the more fascinating conspiracies that between 1969 and 1972, they had seven attempts, 6 of them successful. But they went to the Apollo 13 was the one that they didn't apparently make it, and they had to come back. But that was the only time in history that a human being has been more than 400 miles above the Earth's surface. All the space station missions, all the space shuttle missions, all that stuff is
within orbit.
Yeah, it's low. It's all very low. They went 260,000 miles out and back into deep space, but they had never even flown a chicken out there and see if it comes back alive. Like, we really didn't.
Really?
Yeah, no.
I'm not into the space travel one, so.
I mean, they did a couple of flybys, like that went around the moon, you know, early before they landed on the moon.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, without unmanned drones like what we have on Mars and things like that, we've never really sent a living thing out through the magnetosphere, through the Van Allen radiation belts, into deep space. Have it, you know, I mean, there's all these possibilities of solar flares and anything that would have killed them instantly. And they just did that. And then we haven't been able to do that since 1972.
That's the one way. I've never looked into the moon landing. I think it's kind of goofy, right?
Well, it's weird. It's a weird one.
Why have we never gone back? It's been 50. Surely our technology is far superior to what it was in 1969, right?
The technology is far superior, except that they're not using that technology for manned space travel into, you know, deep space like that, and to go into the moon. So it's like our technology in all these other areas is superior, but they haven't really worked towards that because they haven't been funded. So the big issue is, in many ways, it's money. Right? There's how much money is there in going to the moon, and it's also very risky to send humans out there. I mean, we're talking about manned missions to Mars now, which may or may not take place by 2030. They're talking about doing that, but it's way cheaper and safer to send robots out there. Like, why risk human lives? It's
well,
like,
they
it's
put
very
robots
retro.
on the moon, right? And they put robots on Mars.
Yeah.
The rovers.
The rovers on Mars are that's the most interesting because they're sending these really high resolution photos of the surface of Mars, and they're running tests and checking for biological life. It's really, really interesting stuff. But between 69 and 72, when they did all this stuff, I mean, there's the technology back then was nothing compared to what they have now in terms of calculations and computers, and it's also there's unquestionably some stuff that, whether it was images or video, that was faked. And I think...
Really?
Yeah.
So like I said, I never looked into this at all.
Gemini 15 is the big one, because there's a photo of Michael Collins. It shows him in deep space, and they use it as a press release saying that he was on a spacewalk, when it was really an image of him from a test run where there was all this stuff in the background, and he was on this harness, and they just blacked out the background and tried to sell it as him being in space. See if you find that. Michael Collins, what do you...
I was looking up how much it costs to send somebody to space.
Oh, it's insane.
$70 million.
There's these
70 million
for a NASA astronaut to fly on a Russian shuttle.
Well, there's all
Jeff
these
Bezos.
private guys trying to sell tickets to places. I mean,
Yeah.
Bezos is trying to do it. Musk, obviously.
But that's space. That's just low Earth orbit. That's still inside 400 miles.
None of them are trying to go anywhere.
No. Well, they might in the future.
Well, Branson.
Well, I think that's all same thing. It's all low Earth orbit. But they are talking about future visits to the moon and to Mars. But a lot of times I feel like when they say that, George Bush Sr. said that they were going to go to the moon, back to the moon again. In like fucking, when was that? 1990 or whatever the hell that was. But people have always said we're going to go back to the moon, but we haven't been back since 1972.